So in the daily loop theory, we mentioned about scaling with multiple countries and stuff, and this is something that I want to explain a little bit more. So a lot of times people tend to focus on creatives, but they miss a key point. So you cannot always keep scaling with creatives. A lot of times companies like the Rich Wallet or True Classic or other companies that they have scaled to such big levels, and now they're even scaling more with more influencers and credibility from that, bigger influencers spending more. They have scaled with multiple countries. How they have done it though? What is the correct approach when you are scaling with multiple countries? There are several ways. There are brands that they have different CRMs and different companies and different stock houses or whatever, or processes, and they have different accounts for different countries. I have one ad account that I'm going to show you, which are different countries, and they are trying to work like this. There are other ad accounts that they are just having all the countries together. Of course, we have analyzed earlier why it's difficult working with different time zones and stuff in the same ad account, because we start our ads at 6 a.m. in the morning and we have all of these different things that it's going to make our lives difficult, but yes, it can actually work. There are several things that we need to discuss when we're working with multiple countries. Then we're going to go into my PC showing you how you can work with cluster of countries in another account, how you can work with multiple countries in another account, but a little bit of theory before that, and then we can see actually live examples. So the first approach says this: you have a Shopify Plus, you have subdomains, you're doing a different pixel for each country and stuff, which makes also sense because, for example, the pregnant women on United States are completely different demographic from the European women, or the pregnant women on Africa. Who runs ads on Africa? But anyway, you get my point. By the way, if you don't know it, just extra information, Mark is actually trying to, as a philanthropist, to actually connect African countries with internet. Why is he doing that? Because guess what all these people are going to do in the moment that they're going to have access to internet? They're going to make a Facebook account. This is what happened also with my mom. When she realized that she can have Facebook, the first thing that she did. So all of this is for new clients, okay? Don't fall for the philanthropist style. Because Meta is actually measuring their success and their profits and stuff from how many new users they have all the time. That's why at some point they tried also to put people to do professional accounts and personal accounts. So for my business, I have an account which is professional, another profile. And for myself, I have one personal, which I'm posting pictures with my dog, for example, okay? So that the algorithm can understand that I have a dog and other people are going to be able to target me. Anyway, I'm ranting, but you get my point. So, different countries. In these different countries, we are just having this philosophy. United States has always need to be alone, okay? As I said earlier, you can have different ad account for each one of the different countries if you have this kind of structure. You can have clusters. For example, I'm having one ad account for Europe. Now it's a little bit more difficult because, by the way, Europe is the most fucked up place. Let me tell you why. Super fragmented, so many languages, so many countries, and at least we have European Union, which is not a problem for the customs, okay? But for sure, if you're sending something from the United States, you need to have a different account because you're going to have different KPIs and stuff because of the customs that you will have to pay or they have to pay, and it's a whole different situation. Except from the demographic side, which is that there are different people with different, in the previous example, the women that they get pregnant in the United Arab Emirates are much younger from the European women that they get pregnant later. So the profiles are different. You cannot just use the same pixel. Not that you cannot, but we will go to this case later. Different accounts, one for each country, different subdomain, different pixel. Secondly, clusters. Okay, I'm running one ad account which is for the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. I don't think I'm forgetting something. Another cluster, it can be the cluster that we have below, it's Australia and New Zealand. We have another cluster which is United States, and maybe sometimes people put Canada also there, but with different campaigns. I will explain why. And then we have a Europe cluster, which is European Union, and one for UK alone, for example, because it's not in European Union anymore. This is the other way. The last way is I have a very strong pixel, which is getting all of the data, and I'm doing combined campaigns in just one campaign with multiple countries, or I'm just doing one campaign for this country, one campaign for this country, but in the same ad account with the same pixel. So the structure of having one ad account, one pixel for each country, it's easy. I'm not going to explain it. We do all the things that we know. And if you want to scale, you just do another ad account, another pixel, if you have this kind of processes. But this is for bigger companies most of the time. Now, if you are someone that you are dropshipping, for example, you have the other two options, not the one country per ad account. It's a little bit too much. So the other option is that you're going to do cluster of countries to different accounts. In this case, for example, you're going to put the time zone correct and you're going to do ads. I like this kind of approach, even if it is more work for me to do extra campaigns instead of just duplicating and changing the country only. On the other hand, if you have bigger budgets, you can also work with one. Now, in the cluster countries ad accounts, again, we have the same rules. Let's talk a little bit about the ad account that has all the countries. First of all, you need to actually check and see which countries are having completely different CPMs. For example, most of the times people were doing the mistake of running worldwide. You're not going to run worldwide while you're having, for example, inside Tunisia, India, Turkey, Egypt, Pakistan, which are the usual suspects. That's why I'm mentioning them, not for any other reason, that they have very low CPM and they're ruining your results. Which means that if they have very low CPM, they're going to take all of the budget and you're going to have very bad results. So you need to have some countries that you're going to pick. Most of the times we pick the top 25 countries based on GDP or how much money they make, if they're rich or poor countries. The second thing that you need to do here is that you need to understand that if you're running, for example, United States and you're running all the other countries, and then you need to break down the results and you see, for example, that in United States you're spending the majority of your budget, maybe you need to just do one campaign for United States and maybe have another campaign for the other countries, of course. Now, this problem can be easily solved and you can work with all of these countries in one if you have big budgets. If you have $10,000, $20,000 per campaign, yes, these are the numbers, not 1K or 2K, these are not big numbers. 20K, 30K, 40K per campaign, then I can tell you that in these kind of campaigns that I have seen, they do have spread between the countries, for example, and they have decent spend between the countries, and this is the way for you to overcome this problem. If you don't have this kind of budgets or you are not scaling that much, you need to have United States alone, and maybe you can do your own clusters over here, okay? For example, another cluster that I like to use is Germany, Austria, Switzerland. They speak the same language and it's working pretty well, for example, whenever I'm using it. Now, the other thing that you can do is, so in my world, you are going to put United States alone. The other countries, if you want to group them, group them. There is another strategy that you can follow, which I'm going to tell you in a little bit if you group them. But if you put very big budgets, you can put them all together. Perfect. So the other thing about a lot of countries is this. A lot of times I was mentioning, for example, the Germany, Austria, Switzerland. I could see that Germany, for example, was taking all of the budget, and I was then saying, okay, let me run only Germany, for example, okay, since it's taking all of the budget. And then I would see that I was running Germany alone and it wasn't having good results comparing to having Germany, Austria, Switzerland. I realized that the reason that this is happening is because the other countries, they were just giving one sale, two sales here, you know, just completing the whole ROAS thing. Why? So it was my better quality sales, for example, and not my volume. My volume was Germany, and with the other countries, I was getting 2 or 3 more sales that they were giving me a good average result. So after that, I started testing another thing, which was this. So let's say that you run 20 countries and you break down the results and you see that, for example, Germany is taking 40% of the budget. What you're doing is that you are removing all the other countries. You are checking what Germany has spent on the last 7 days. You divide this with 7 so that you know the daily budget, the average daily budget, and then you lower the budget of this campaign to that. And you relaunch again this same campaign without Germany. In that way, you're going to be able to explore if you can scale more Germany later based on results and stuff, and you can be able to do more campaigns, and you are going to be able to scale with multiple countries. This is what I have done. Let's go into my PC. Let me show you other accounts that they have cluster things and stuff, they have also different ad accounts for different countries, and we can take it from there. I don't have right now another account which is spending a lot of money with multiple countries, but I have seen them in my life and stuff, and I believe that they are there and they are working. It's just there are rare companies, but in order for you to spend 50 or 60K to multiple countries, you need to be a very big company with a very big team of marketing and all of that. And right now I don't have access to any of, or do I? No, the other big account is in United States. So that's all. Let's go into my PC. Let me show you that and we will take it from there. So for example, look at this ad account over here. This ad account over here operates in the United States, okay? I'm not going to analyze strategies and stuff because this is the structure that I told you earlier, that we're having different ad accounts for different countries. This company has this one for United States, different KPIs, different spending for United Kingdom. We are having different numbers for Canada, but they're having also different teams, different shipping, different CRM, different companies, different subdomains, okay? And then we have also New Zealand that over here, let me see also the results. Yeah, we spend 180. This is what we spend in the whole United States, for example, okay? With our ups and downs, of course, okay? And Australia just recently came into my hands. It doesn't do really well. I have to fix it eventually. But the fact that, for example, it's selling on United States, here it proves that it cannot actually work necessarily also in Australia, where you're going to have, for example, different competition. Anyway, so over here we're seeing the structure that we are having different results to different countries and stuff, and we're scaling with pixels that they are strong for their specific countries. Let me show you another account, which is another account which operates on United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia and stuff, and how I treated this ad account there with different campaigns. So in this ad account we have a cluster of different countries. We don't use them in the same campaign because we have different CPM. The first campaign here, obviously I still have to hide things, is United Arab Emirates campaign. We have this kind of CPM. Over here we're doing, on United Arab Emirates, we're just doing lookalikes, and we're not targeting the whole country, we're targeting Abu Dhabi and Dubai mostly, based on the instructions of the owner. We have the next one, which is the 14 over here, which is a mix. So this one is the Qatar alone. This one, the 22, is the Saudi Arabia, which is the biggest market over here. Obviously we're having different results. We work with an average result, of course, but you get my point. And of course here we have also isolating countries based on the rule that I told you earlier, that basically if we see that something is working alone, we try to isolate into its country, make it work and so on. And we're having also this one that it's Kuwait alone. So you can just have either group them all together. For example, in these countries there's one major problem, which is the Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia problem is that it's the biggest one of all. Basically it's like 10 times more from Qatar, 10 times more from United Arab Emirates and stuff. So the logic here says to work in a way that you would work with United States. So you put United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain together, or even you say that United Arab Emirates, I want to put alone Saudi Arabia alone, and the other smaller one, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, I put them also together just to cluster them, okay, because they're very small countries. Or you can put all of them together, but you need to have higher budget in order for the smaller ones to take budget. So the things that I told you earlier also apply to smaller structure cluster countries. Some might say here, yes, but why are we grouping together, for example, Australia with New Zealand? One thing that people don't understand is that Australia is only 20 million. Okay, and we might think that it's a huge continent. It's not a huge population country. It's only 20 million potential reach if you see it. Yes, New Zealand is 4 million, but still the differences are not big. Saudi Arabia is much bigger, and you're doing it like this. Now, in Saudi Arabia, which is very big, you have the luxury of doing lookalike audiences and stack lookalike CBO and stuff. It's more risky, for example, to use ASC there. But in other countries like Qatar, you can use ASC immediately because the lookalike audiences or any interest will be really small because it's a very small country. So you're just adapting also the things and the different things that you're going to do to these countries. And you're just going to do, for example, in Saudi Arabia, which is very big, you can do lookalikes. You have this luxury because even in the broad, maybe you're going to have higher CPM, as we can see over here. But In the other countries, you can do broad targeting and have better CPMs because they're already very small, and just the broad targeting might mean that you're targeting 2 or 3 million people. So it's nothing actually there. Yes, there are other countries that there are other accounts that you can use just one, but they need much bigger numbers. In this period, I don't have any account like this, but I have seen them. So I told you how are they being done. Sometimes the scaling and how much money you're going to spend, it's based on the results. So these ad accounts ended up having this kind of spends because they were working and people could scale, and they were not punished for that. Okay, so you have seen it, you know the theory. It's time for you to start applying it. These are the rules that we are following, along with other things like when do the ad accounts reset when we have multiple counters, okay? When we do start our ads. We have discussed these things earlier, time zones and stuff, in the previous chapters on debriefing and understanding the algorithm. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about scaling with the one variable rule while testing. This is one of the major things. So if you have creatives that are working in one country, the best thing that you can do is that if you have, for example, let's say that you're working with 5 counters, okay, that you have seen that they're working pretty well. There's no reason for you, when you launch new creatives, to put it in all of the counters if you have different campaigns for each of the country. Now, if you run them all together, yes, you have to do that anyway. But if you're just doing one campaign for different counters or clusters, for example, let's say that in one ad account you see a set of creatives working, you can always go to the other ad account since it's working, and you can see if it's going to work to the other country, to the other country. This is how you expand. Most of the times you're going to test something into your main country, because if it's working, for example, in another account, which is the New Zealand ad account, which is spending 10K per month, you don't care if these creatives are working on the New Zealand if they don't work on the United States, okay? So you start with your main ad account and you test creatives there. If a creative is working, you move it immediately to the other country that you have found the structure that is working, the spend that you need to have, everything, okay? So you're doing it like this, and you're keep scaling like this in any of the 3 different structured ad accounts that we discussed earlier.